I'm Tennyson Ford.
And I'm Brianna Harris, and this is Bedford News at 7.
Students everywhere are revolting against their teachers for not being taught how to correctly use parallelism. We have some photos here that show the outrage. This man here is being held back by a SWAT team so that in effort to prevent him from injuring his teacher. And this man here, while he is oddly dressed, he is taking a hammer to his teacher's car and appears to be doing some damage with it. We are here with Grammar Girl to give us a first-hand report on how to properly use parallelism.
When writing something, you should always make it easiest for the reader to understand. Using parallelism correctly will help works be grammatically correct. Everything must be balanced when meant to match.
So, in other words, a single word needs to balance a single word.
A kiss can be a comma, a question mark, or an exclamation point.
A phrase needs to balance a phrase.
This novel is not to be tossed lightly aside, but to be hurled with great force.
And a clause has to balance a clause.
In matters of principle, stand like a rock. In matters of taste, swim with the current. Here is a basic example of incorrect parallelism. Billy Bob Joe went out and bought a rusty axe, a dented knife, and at last minute he decided to buy a bent screwdriver. Because you added in, he decided to buy a bent screwdriver, it becomes unparalleled. You would really just say, Billy Bob Joe went out and bought a rusty axe, a dented knife, and a bent screwdriver.
Tell me, are there different ways to balance sentences?
Yeah, when balancing sentences in pairs, you use one of these devices. You'll use a coordinating conjunction, which is and, or, but, a correlative conjunction, which is either or, not only, but also, or an introduction, such as then or as.
Okay, so I see. Could you explain parallelism and correlative conjunctions?
Yes. When using correlative conjunctions, make sure that the first half matches the second half. There will be either or, not only, but also, neither nor, both and, or, whether or. Do not misuse was. My friend was not only a girl, but she was a cat. You would take out was, because restating was creates unbalance. Here's an example of an incorrect use of a correlative conjunction. Coke is bad for you, not only because it has sugar, but also is caffeinated. You would actually write, Coke is bad for you, not only because it has sugar, but also because it is caffeinated. Because not only was followed by because, but also must follow the same pattern.
Thank you. We have just one more element we need you to discuss. Can you explain to us how to use parallelism for clarification?
I would love to. To make it clear when there are two ideas present, restate the prepositions and or the subordinating conjunctions. They can often be omitted, but be sure to include them when writing parallel sentences. An incorrect sentence would be, my dad has always taught me that talking to strangers is bad and I should look both ways before crossing the road. You would correctly write this sentence by saying, my dad has always taught me that talking to strangers is bad and that I should look both ways before crossing the street. Because there are two ideas presented in the sentence, reinstating that helps readers distinguish between the two ideas.
Thank you so much for your time.
You're welcome.
And may I tell you that the orange mask really brings out the seriousness in your eyes.
It's very serious, and parallelism is serious business.
Thank you. We will be right back after these messages.
Welcome back. We were discussing and explaining parallelism. With us we have a special guest speaker, Captain Parallelism. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
There's still so much to discuss. Why don't we start with parallelism in a series?
When you read a list of items, you expect them to appear in a certain order. If one or more of these items is written differently, it makes the sentence awkward and unbalanced. An incorrect example of this would be, Impressionist painters believe in focusing on the ordinary subjects, capturing the effects of light on the subjects, and to use short brush strokes. All items in the series use ink. Therefore, using should be used to make the items in the series parallel.
This is so important. If a series is unbalanced, it's jarring and awkward for the readers.
Yes, now I feel that it is important that we move on to parallelism in coordinating conjunction. As you can probably tell by the name, we are now moving on to conjunctions. Just in case some of our viewers have forgotten, conjunctions are words like and, but, or, nor, or, for, and yet. Conjunctions are important because they link ideas of equal importance. The Bedford Handbook says, when those ideas are closely parallel in content, they should be expressed in parallel grammatical form. If you're looking, that'll be on page 148. That might sound confusing, but what they mean is when you write one half of a sentence a certain way, make sure that the second half of the sentence follows to the same grammatical form. An incorrect example of this would be, many states are reducing property taxes for homeowners and financial aid in the form of tax credits to creditors. There must be a balance between reducing and extend. Therefore, extended would be the correct form. Should be, many states are reducing property taxes for homeowners and extending financial aid in the form of tax credits and to renters.
This is such a confusing category, but I think most of our viewers understood it. Now, last but certainly not least, let's talk about using parallelism for clarification.
To make it clear when there are two ideas present, you must restate the prepositions and or subordinating conjunctions. They can often be omitted, but make sure to include them when using parallel structures. For example, it is easier to speak in abstractions than grounding one's thoughts in reality. To speak must be balanced with to ground. So it should look like, it is easier to speak in abstractions than to ground one's thoughts in reality.
Thank you very much for those informative explanations.
It was my pleasure.
Now, just a quick tip before we leave you tonight. Parallel sentences must be balanced. Think of your parallel ideas as symbols. There are smiley faces, and smiley faces. Those go together. But if you have a smiley face, and a frowny face, those are not parallel ideas. To fix parallel ideas that do not fit, you can revise the first two ideas that match the third, or you can revise the third to match the other two. It all depends on what you feel like doing. Just make sure they're parallel. We'll show you some quick examples. To get in shape, we're running through the streets, lifting heavy dumbbells. We went for bike rides. You can fix this by making the third example match the first two. By saying, to get in shape, we were running through the streets, lifting heavy dumbbells, and riding our bikes. You can also fix the same sentence by making the first two match the third. To get in shape, we ran, lifted heavy dumbbells, and biked. I hope these are a few quick tips that can help you on your way to writing better in parallelism.
I am Tennyson Benedict.
And I'm Brianna Harris, reporting live from Bedford News at 7.